Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Raising Remarkable Teenagers. I am so excited, and you can see why I'm excited. I've got another lovely, and beautiful guest for us here today. And guess what the topic for today is? It's how to raise your teenager, how to step up and raise your teenager without losing your mind. You know, most of us think, oh my God, I'm just gonna lose it. How many times have you said, I'm gonna lose it, I'm losing my mind? You know, those words. But today we've got lovely Saskia, and Saskia is a businesswoman, she's a mom of teenagers and is here to advise us. How can we do this? How can we take this very noble role? Remember, I keep saying to us that parenting teenagers, especially, is taking on a leadership role. So, how can we do that without losing our mind? We giving it up to you, Saskia. Take it away.
Oh, thanks, Angela. Thank you so much. First, I just want to thank you very much for having the opportunity to be with you here. Second of all, I really want to state I'm not an expert in parenting. I only have the knowledge that I have raising my 3 teenagers and basically how I haven't lost my mind. And I'm very happy to be here. Very happy
we
to be here because
love
it's a
that.
passion.
We love that. We love that because what we want to know is that any person, any parent, expert or not, we can do this. We can do this. So I want all the parents, because many of my listeners, many of my parents think, oh, you're doing it okay because you've got all this information, you're an expert. But I keep reminding them all that when it comes to raising teenagers, they kick you in the teeth. It don't matter whether you're the psychologist. No, it doesn't matter. They do it. Why? Because there are changes happening in their brain. There are changes happening with their hormones. And they are moving from being a child to being an adult. Yet, they haven't got the experience of being an adult. They've been a child all their life. And now they are required to step up and take this sort of pseudo adult role. And they don't know how to do it. And even we, as parents, may not know how to do it because we haven't parented them as teenagers. So we want to hear how you did it.
Well, how I'm doing it. So
how
first
you're
of all,
doing it, absolutely.
yeah. So there's two two boundaries or whatever that I've put for myself so that I don't lose my mind. And the one is pick my battles, and the second one is that I don't take anything personally. So those are the two things for me. So whenever anything comes up, I have to remember, like you said, these teenagers don't have the experience as an adult. Even adults don't have experience being an adult.
Absolutely.
So we struggle as well. So these teenagers are, and they're not modeling us. They're not copying us either. Because what they're doing is forming that identity, is they're going, oh, I like this in the media. I like this from a singer. I like this from my friends. I like this from some image that I saw just happened to be on social media. I like this about my mom and my dad and my siblings. And they're trying to culminate and put it together for their own identity. And what they're doing is, and something I tell my kids is also, is that they need to take what they see, but experience it. Once they've experienced it and put that into a snowball effect, then they can take it on and go, okay, that's me. And not go, well, mom said this and this and this, so it must be true, because I'm figuring my way out as well. I don't know. And if they start any argument, actually, my kids don't start arguments. I have to, I'm actually quite lucky with that, actually. They don't start arguments.
I'm thinking you're
Yeah.
very lucky. My one is it's like she's every minute she's looking for How will I attack my mom? How will I contest this? How will I? And I'm thinking, ah,
No, no, I'm lucky now that I say it out loud, because I'm just like, my kids will tell me something and I have to give them the space to just talk about it. And
aha,
remember for myself, one, don't take it personally. It's nothing to do with you. And two, pick my battles.
aha.
So is this something worth fighting or arguing about, or
Mm-hmm.
stating, my point of view,
Mm.
and rather seeing it from their personality? But that's probably the way I am.
Yes.
So I know all three of my kids are individualists. So am I. So whenever they tell me something, I have to, as an empath, put myself in their shoes, be careful of my energy, that I don't suck their energy as well and take it on as mine,
Yeah.
and see where they're coming from. And then you kind of like, oh, yeah, I understand that. And often what happens, I remember my childhood
Yeah.
where I didn't feel understood. So it's like, well, how would I respond to myself, my inner child, in their response? And then it's
Aha.
kind of like, oh yeah, so we just have this, I don't know, it's a dance that we go on. We just like go with one another, where we also know where each other's boundaries are.
Ah.
And arguments aren't there. It's just, if there's moments, then it's just kind of like, oh, just don't take it personally. Like my eldest will come to me and he'll be like, I'm so sorry I said this, mom. And I'm going, yeah, me too. I'm on my periods. And he'll go, oh, thought so.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you don't take it personally, and you tend to pick your battles. You're not constantly wanting to fight them. You don't have to contest as well. You don't have to contest everything they bring to you. Sometimes you can keep quiet, even when you think, I don't think I would do it that way, or I don't think
Mhm.
that's okay. But like you said, allow them to experience it themselves. If they think, of
Mm.
course, I say, unless it's a life and death situation, if it's a life and death situation, then you can jump in there and do something. But if it's suggestions that you know what, if you tried that and it went the wrong way round, oh, I'm sorry, there's a dazzling light coming through the shutters. I didn't expect the light
Lucky
to
you.
come through. Just give me one moment. I'm just gonna shut it because I don't want it. It's dazzling me really. Just give me 1 sec.
No worries. Oh, you're funny.
Guys, I'm back and so sorry for that. There was just so much light coming through. I didn't want you to think I'm a ghost. I've turned into a ghost, but we're all good now. Let's keep going.
Oh. Yeah, with my kids as well, is like I have to remember that when they're talking to me, and whatever the a very important lesson that I learned for myself is, when teenagers speak, when children speak, they are asking for information without directly asking for it.
Uh-huh.
So they'll be talking, but they're just showing you the iceberg, and it's understanding what's
Mm-hmm.
below the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, okay, this could it be, this could it be that, and not insinuating anything, and just listening. The most important thing I've learned for myself is just to listen. So they just talk and talk and talk. And like you said, sometimes I don't agree with anything, but I have to ask myself, is that my conditioning, my fear?
Uh-huh.
I don't want to bring this fear onto my children.
Yes.
When you talk about police or you talk about authority, and I'm going, that's my fear, or that's my
Mm,
way of conditioning. But my
mm.
kids, they're asking questions to find their identity. So I leave them the space for that to delve and experience in it.
Oh, brilliant. What I heard you say there is what we call mindful. When you're listening, you're mindfully there, you're mindfully in
Mm,
the moment. Some people call it mindful parenting, but whatever you call it, listening for the
mm,
for the listening to hear them, listening to feel them, listening so that they can feel you're hearing them.
mm,
It's a very powerful, it's actually a very powerful place to be, because when they feel heard, when they feel listened to, then they respond in more positive ways. And that's what I heard you say about listening, and it's something I encourage parents, including myself. I have to remind myself, and especially these days with so much distraction. Like, I mean, how many times have any of us been guilty? I mean, including myself. You're on the phone and the kid's talking to you, and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what message is going into their head? At that
Mm.
point, they think, oh, the phone is more important than me. They won't tell you
Mm.
that, but they feel sidelined. And that's why it's very important to listen wholly. Even
Mm.
if it means, give me 1 minute, let me put this phone down and just listen. And the good thing with teenagers is that if you give them that 2 minutes, they could leave you all day, right? They're not like little children that when you give them time, they'll hang on to you all day. Teenagers, it's
Mm.
like they come to it's like a pit stop. You know, those of us who are runners and those of us who like athletics, or those people that like Formula One or something. You know, you don't stop. They come to you, a quick
Mm.
stop, and then they're off. But
Yeah.
then those are the moments you need to make connection, because if you don't, just like that car, if they don't
Mm.
stop at that pit stop, there are things that you will not be able to pick, and they might not be able to finish the race with you.
Yeah.
So the connection is lost. There is things that they wanted to tell you, they don't feel valued, they don't. But when you actually take that time, like you said, just listen. It's not for a long time, it's not all day. In fact, they don't want you to be there with them all day.
Yeah.
But think of it as a pit stop,
Mm.
but give your whole attention to that. So I'm so glad you said that, because it's something I keep reminding parents. It's the quality of that
Yeah.
time. And it could just even be half a minute, even, anything. Yeah, just so carry on before I overtake this. I love this
I
discussion.
love that analogy, Angela. It's really, really good because, and it's also like, the beginning years, that first year of having a baby going on to 1 years old, that time, it drags, but it's so, so quick.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much teenage years as well.
Yes.
You've only got like 2, 3 years
Mm.
and then it's over. But what you invest before that in time, in taking the time and everything, and just over those 3 years where they're exploring their identity and who they are and what they're doing, that pit stop is so quick. And it's often as well finding commonalities as well with the kids.
Mhm.
So my kids introduced me to TikTok and I love it. And I love doing TikTok with them as well. And I encourage them as well. One of the things that really annoy me is when you always have the saying, oh, these children on social media and they never pay attention to you and they
Mm.
don't give you the attention. The screen is more interesting than you. That says a lot about the other person, about having a pit stop over there. It's got nothing to do with social media. It's just more entertaining. And
That's
they'd
right.
rather, like some people would escape within alcohol or going addicted to sports or addicted to series or whatever
Mm.
it is, or food. That for them is just their escape point, and they're not addicted to it. They're just trying to connect. They're trying to have a pit stop and get information.
Mm.
So the same as you, when the kids come to me, it's just kind of like, hey, mom, I want to know this. And I'm like, sure, no worries. I just need to finish this email, put it down. But I say, sit down. I'm
Yes.
almost done.
Yes.
And then put that on the side. And I think that is a byproduct of a step before that is understanding as a parent for yourself where my boundaries,
That's
because it's
right.
very easy to go, yes, I'll be there for you, yes, I'll be there for you, and you don't set the boundaries where it's like, I really don't have time right now, and you
Mm.
need to respect that. And that mutual respect is also about being an adult, so they need to understand space and time,
Mhm.
and not just like, mom and dad will just drop everything whenever they
Ah.
feel like it,
Yeah,
type of thing.
actually, that's a question I was going to ask you, because when I say to parents, give, especially because in research we are continuously finding that our teenagers need connection. You know, they're like, it's like they revert to that little baby. Obviously, they'll try to be stoic, they'll try to pretend they don't need us. But we are finding more and more that they need connection more than ever. In fact, our research is showing us that 40% of teenagers are lonely. That's a big number.
Huge.
So between me and you, one of our kids is lonely. You know, it's really heartbreaking to think like that. So
And I
what
can understand why.
yeah, and it's probably because us as parents, we just don't have, we don't give them that time. But then parents ask me, uh, but we can't just let them come in and out as they like. That we don't want that. But like you said, when you have those firm boundaries, you know, you have firm boundaries, you're like, I'm here for you. Like, for example, my daughter, and this is something I tell parents often. She loves TikTok. I don't love TikTok. I don't even want it near me. But that's her thing. And the many times she has come said to me, Mommy, I want you to do this dance with me. And like you, I'll say, oh, give me 2 minutes. Let me finish what I'm doing. And then I'll come and do that TikTok with you, the dance or whatever. And like I said, it doesn't happen all the time. But when it happens, it's like she feels refueled to carry on and do everything else, right? So like I said, it's a pit stop. So don't ignore that pit stop for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think, don't be too busy to recognize them, to give them that time. And some parents ask me, what about when they won't have any boundaries? But if you have firm boundaries, they will not break them. Because, for example, when you say to them, give me 2 minutes and I'll be with you, so they know that you've heard them, but you also have your own life, you have your own stuff that you're doing. You're not just sitting there waiting to be taken over or used or something. That's not you, right? So having those boundaries can really help you not only connect with them when they need it, but also is training them to have their own boundaries as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's great you said that. It's brilliant that you said that. And what I wanted to say as well is, when she started liking this TikTok, she'd just barge into my office, and sometimes I would be in the middle of something, in the middle of a call. But one thing I keep constantly saying is, family for me is more important than anything else. In fact, just today I sent out to my list, to my email list, I sent out for my Monday motivation. I said something to the event of, your work, your job is replaceable, but your home, your position in the home is not replaceable. So we need to work on those relationships that actually matter to us. So let me go back to what I did on that day. I said, hold on everybody, because I'm usually a very real person. And if something is, because this is real life, this we are doing life. I'm not going to pretend that things, like a minute ago, the lights came through. I had to deal with it. And that's what I'd like parents to know. We have to deal with situations. So what I did on that day, I said to her, Dee, I'm in the middle of a phone call. So I said to the person, daughter has barged in, and let me send her away nicely, and then I'll speak to her later. Yeah. So the person's holding on the other side, right? Because it's life. This is, we should not be ashamed of living life, you know. So I asked
Mm,
daughter to
mm,
go, and then I finished my conversation, and then I said to her, from now on, please knock, and if mommy doesn't answer in in uh, in 2 3 seconds, just know that she's in the middle of something that she can't even speak to you. Otherwise, when you knock, if I'm busy, I'll say to you, hold on for however long, if it's 5 minutes,
mm.
10 minutes, I will let you know. But if I don't speak, know that I am not in a situation to speak, right? And I tell you, from then on,
Yeah.
she knocks. She knocks. So that's how you build boundaries. You know, we have to be honest with everyone, actually, with our
Mm.
clients, with the people we relate with, because we are doing life, you know, and things
Yeah,
happen.
you know, the
Go on.
kids are thrown in from a young age, in kindergarten, in primary school, in high school. They're just thrown into a situation. Nobody teaches, none of the schools teach how to relate to one another socially.
Mm-hmm.
So if you imagine at school, everyone's just barging in on one another.
Mm-hmm.
The only discipline or boundaries that are there is when a teacher walks in, you keep quiet most of the times,
Yes.
and then you listen, and then you put your phone away, you know, whatever it is. And at home is where you taught the boundaries, and those boundaries it's a muscle. You need to condition, you need to practice it all the time, and then it settles in. It's like with anything in life, like my daughter was saying to me, my youngest, I'm just not understanding English, because they grow up with German and English here. And I can't remember this word. I learned it once and I keep repeating to her, everything is repetition, everything. I was like, how did you learn that dance? Once or through repetition?
That's
How did
right.
you learn that song? Once or
Mhm.
through repetition? And they're like, oh, okay. So I was like, you got to keep on seeing that word, using it all the time, putting it in different context. All success comes from repetition. They're like, oh. And I said, it's the same as when you're making friends. Because what I wanted to say, to come back to, you know, where 40% of the teenagers are lonely, is that when you are thrown into this jungle of people with different personalities and you're not taught how to socialize with one another,
Mm,
you start isolating yourself because you have no friends and you can't
absolutely.
relate to anyone and you don't have that identity. So
Mm,
you go into a state of loneliness because you're not practicing the muscle to talk, to make mistakes, to be laughed at, to laugh with people. And all that loneliness just starts building up, and it can either turn into anger or resentment or depression or whatever it is, or not eating, resentment towards parents. They just, or siblings don't understand. And it's a repetition, and it's changing the repetition to something positive for them.
absolutely. Absolutely. And when you said about this them being, we can teach them these lessons at home. We can teach them these lessons, and teach them it's okay for people to have their own different views, different life, different, you know, it's the differences, right? So that when they are thrown into the into the into that world, they are able to cope. Yeah, you're right. You're still
Mm. Yep. Oh, you're gone.
there. No, I'm
Oh, you're
here.
back.
So, on a lighter note, I just wanted to quickly find out what's the bikini and the bikini set at the back there. It's been intriguing me since we started, and I just can't go
It's
anymore.
a graphic designer and an artist that I work with.
Uh-huh.
It's an oil painting from a graphic designer and artist, and
Wow.
I love it. It's very, very real. So it's got no symbolism or anything. I just love it.
It is so real. I thought it's part of your product. I thought, oh, you must be selling some of that product, and it would be nice for some of my listeners to so you can tell us a little bit about it. But it's all good. It's all good.
No.
Yeah. So what I want you to say to me, to tell me or discuss, we've talked quite a bit about boundaries. I want you to speak to us about choosing our battles. Because I know you spoke about the two things, so that you don't lose your mind. Otherwise, we are likely to lose our mind, right? So we've talked a lot about boundaries. I would like you to talk about the choosing your battle, picking your battles.
So for me, when I'm choosing my battles, maybe it's just the way that my mind works. I'm already in life anyhow. I'm already 5 to 10 steps ahead.
Okay.
So if I see what my kids are talking about, I'm already, okay, what are 10 steps ahead? Where's this going? It could either go left or it could go right.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, do I need to be involved in this? No. Is it going to suck my energy? Yes. Is anyone going to learn something from this? No. Are they going to learn something from it? 100%. So, and then I'll go, I'm not getting in the middle of this. This is your problem. And I always tell my kids, find a solution. Don't come to me with a problem. Find a solution. So they'll go through it and they let their anger out or whatever it is, and then they experiment. But there will be times when, there's a lot of anger happening and I need to see, okay, this is the surface, what's happening down at the bottom. So if someone's getting that angry, there must be a trigger for it. And this argument that's happening between siblings, one of them or both of them, or all three of them are scapegoats for one another. And that's then when I step in where I'm like, okay, mediation, what's happening? Let's talk. Let's separate our ways, go and cool off, whatever, and let's talk about it.
Oh, brilliant. And there's something else that you've mentioned, which is something very dear to my heart, about energy. And you deciding, is my involvement in this going to affect my energy? That means you're quite conscious, so you're quite aware of yourself. So you're asking yourself that question. If I get involved in this, how is it going to affect my energy? Can you just explain that to, I think I have an understanding, but I would love you to explain it to our viewers, because it's so refreshing when it's coming from another parent,
Yeah, sure. So when the kids are getting really hyped up about something, about friends, and the other one's about school, and they're really using each other as scapegoats or whatever, I need to understand, where am I at this space whilst they're having that. If I always tell my kids, you cannot put fire out with fire, only with water. So one of us needs to be water. So if I get involved, it's just going to be more fire. So how can I be the water in the situation, or the sand, and I don't want to I don't always want to extinguish the fire, because the fire is important. Anger is an important emotion because it drives passion.
Yes.
When you don't deal with anger, it can get a bit violent.
Yes.
Or it can get even more violent. So it's understanding the boundary over there. What's the tipping point?
Yes.
So when they're getting really angry about something, I have to understand, where can I be the water as energy for them, rather than being the fire that's going to cause even more detriment for everyone that's there.
Wow. So again, what I'm hearing from you is this awareness, not jumping to rescue, not jumping to provide solutions, but taking that moment to ask yourself, who am I, and of what help am I going to be in this situation, right? I am just, it's grounding. It's all, I feel like you ground yourself before you jump into something. You ground yourself and decide whether you are of any use or not. One of the things I tell parents a lot is when our children came to us, they were given to us by life, right? So the reason life gave our children to us is so that we can continue helping this life go on. So the question I encourage, even myself, I have to ask myself in the situation, are you a conduit of life, or are you a constrictor of life in every situation? And that's what I heard you say. You know, you're asking yourself, am I going to be fire in this situation, or am I water, right? Or am I going to be of any, is it okay to let the fire burn? Yeah. Or is of what help am I going to be in this situation? And I think that's the same reasoning when we think in terms of, am I enabling life, or am I constricting life? A very important question. Even for myself, I have to ask myself, and I think it's the same thing when you said, when you choosing your battles, right? Because in the choosing our battles, we can help our young people grow, or we can kill them. Yeah.
It's so quick. It goes so quickly when you react out of not not that not everyone's thinking, but when we react out of a negative space, it just goes more fire with more fire.
Yeah.
And children are so susceptible, and they take it so personally so quickly, and they're learning so much from us. I think one of the most important lessons for me was where your viewpoint is on, you know, we as parents are there for life, or, you know, we're given the life. My viewpoint is that our children choose us. They choose their mother and father, because we have the tools that are specifically designed for them. So whatever we're learning for our lessons, breaking generational curses, or whatever it is, we are helping out, taking those tools and helping our children. And it's often that you hear a lot of parents, they're going, oh my God, I could not handle that child from so and so. And you're going, yeah, well, obviously not, because that child did not choose you. It didn't happen like that. So whenever something's happening, I'm like, okay, so what are the tools that I have that I can help my children? And sometimes I'll do things and I'll go, okay, I'm not equipped with this. I need to educate myself so that I can better serve you.
So there's the learning. So we have to learn. And I feel what you're saying. There's my audience, they know this. I go on about this Khalil Gibran's poem. I don't know if you know about it.
Khalil Abram. Yes.
It says,
always,
our children are not our children. They are the product of life.
Yes.
Wanting to express itself. They came through us, but they don't belong to us.
Yeah.
And when you think like that, I like what you said, then when you're in that position, when you're coming from that space, you know you don't have to provide all the answers. Why? Because the life that lives in them has the answers for them.
Yeah.
Right? So we are important, of course, because maybe we help them feed and you know, there is that. But when you also think, we should be humbled, actually, that, like you said, that they chose us. We should be humbled because we are looking after young people who actually are self-sufficient, because we don't beat their hearts. We don't flow their blood. We don't give them breath. So we should be humbled for just taking that little part that that they have allowed us to help in. And that's,
and you
go on.
Sorry, Angela, I just wanted to reassure the listeners that when your children choose you, they're not choosing someone perfect. Nobody's perfect. So it doesn't matter what background you have, because your past does not define your future, it does not define who you are.
That's right.
And those specific tools, whether you come from a monetary poor or rich background, whether you come from very intelligent to not educated, or you grew up a single mom, or you abusive, whatever it is, your children choose you in every situation. They've chosen you specifically, and it's irrelevant and irrespective of what, that they don't choose you and go, oh, I don't know, I'd like something really shiny, I'd like something really perfect. They're going, that person is going to be doing this and this and this, and going to have to learn this and this and this, and it's going to align with my purpose and where I'm going in my life. I'm choosing that person as my mother and my father and my siblings.
Oh, brilliant. So that's so interesting, because then what I'm hearing you say, they choose us. So they indeed then are our teachers.
100%. 100%. Yes.
They indeed are our teachers then, because they have chosen us so we can learn lessons about ourselves, right? So are you saying that we should be grateful when they test us, because it's helping us grow our strength, grow our patience, grow our, even have a different way of thinking, because your kid is a whole different independent young person. And if you're stuck to one thing, and they're showing you, come on, this is me, and you still have to love me like this. So they really forget, they are our teachers.
They are. I mean, what happens is that there's the teenagers, and the parents are usually, not always, because it depends on when, but usually over 40, where the teenagers are then in their teenage, or they're like between 30 and 40. What's happening there?
Yes.
30 and 40 for parents is when they're going through a midlife scenario. So they're dealing with their own things that, what did I not do? What did I do? And the teenagers going through, I need to rediscover my personality. So we are mirroring one another all the time. So what our teenagers are mirroring back to us is youth. What do we want to do? We want to be young and free. And we mirroring back going, but you need to be responsible, because it's a conditioning that we have within us, where we're going, no, you need to get a job, you need, married, and then this and that. And the kids are going, but I don't want that. But in order to get your love and feel nurtured and safe, I will do that for you. And then there's a split personality and arguments and stuff that come up. But when you both go, this is my personality, this is your personality or identity, whatever it is, this is our paths, let's find a common ground in the middle for us to move forward. I'm going through this at the moment and talking about it, the communication, and the kids are going, because they won't speak a lot, but when they do, it's like you read between the lines, you're going, oh, okay, that's mirroring what's happening in me at the moment. So there's always going to be a clash between you as an adult and the teenager, because the teenagers, they want to be young and wild and free, and they want to try everything.
That's right.
And you going into midlife and you going, I didn't try enough, I regret not doing this. So that you're doing each other's mirroring and lives. So that's where the clashing usually comes in.
Oh, now, do you know what? When you said that, something just clicked. Because usually in teenage years, the brain, this is how they have the emotional brain, which is the back brain, which is the amygdala. And then they have the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for organization, rationality, all this order and that. That one is not fully developed. In fact, it doesn't fully develop. We are finding until they're about 25.
Yeah.
So they're still operating from that. But the reason we clash, what I'm hearing from you, and actually it's dropping into what we see a lot, and also in research actually, is that we are forcing them to use the prefrontal cortex, which is not developed, out of our own maybe fears. We are forcing them to be able to use that, yet they're not ready to use it.
Yeah.
And they're still being controlled and it's and it's a developmental stage that they are in. But what we as parents, we're trying to make them use something that is not developed, and
Exactly.
therefore we clash. Oh my God, that was just sort of, you know, when you know something, but then when someone says it in a way, you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
that is what it is. I mean, of
It's trying
course,
to have a scrambled egg with an egg still raw in its shell. And you
yes,
kind of like, but I'm telling you, this becomes a scrambled egg, and you're going, it's an egg with a shell. There could be nothing in. There could be a chicken. Then you're going, no, it's a scrambled egg, and they're going, I don't get it. Just don't
yeah,
get it.
because we are forcing them to use something that's not developed, but because we know that's what's going to happen. Essentially, it's interesting you say that, because as leaders, which as parents we all are, we are leaders actually. We have the position of a leader, but we need to step up and actually be a leader. And what does an effective leader do? What does a I call them transition, transformational. A leader that is effective. What do? They don't walk way too far ahead, because when you're way too far ahead, you can't influence the person. Instead, what that leader does, an effective leader, is you're slightly ahead, walk slightly ahead of this young person, and then sometimes you walk on their side, and sometimes you walk behind them, right?
Hmm.
So what you're doing is, it's like a circle. So one day you're just slightly ahead of them, so you can help them like coach them a little bit. And then the next day you're on their side, and it could all happen at the same time actually. But you cannot, like what you express, we cannot be 5 steps ahead and expect to influence them, because it's too much, though.
I want to flip the coin and challenge you on that. So
Right,
I
go on.
work with leadership. Um, Leaders lead by example.
Yes.
Leaders don't wait
Y-
to influence anyone.
yes.
So you may be 10 steps ahead
Mhm.
because you're not thinking, you're leading yourself. The people that are going with you are following you by example.
Yes.
So a leader only it might look like they're coming back to the side or whatever, or in front, only because we're mirroring each other. I'm leading myself at the moment here, and I'm finding what I need over here, but then you're 10 steps ahead again. Or
Yes.
you might even need to slow down in order to speed up. So you might go all the way back.
That's right.
And it's not focusing on this. I don't focus on my children. I focus on me.
Absolutely.
And in the situation is when you kind of, because all of us are alphas.
Mm.
All of us are alphas. So that's also something, many families have, they're not all alphas. So when we sit down, we understand who's the wolf pack leader.
Yes.
So we know there's a hierarchy. And I've said that also, that comes from very young, when the kids were smaller, where it was like, this is the eldest, this is the second, this is the youngest.
Mm.
And then they're going, okay, fine. And I'm leading the pack. And they're going, okay, I get that. And that's a boundary. And it's only because they understand, when I hit that boundary, then, or let me put it this way, I love Maya Angelou. And she told the story of when she was 16, I think it was, where she told her grandmother or her mom, I'm taking my baby. It was a year old. And she said, I'm leaving. And her mom or grandmother then said, I'm very proud of you, because the day you make the decision to leave my home is the day that I know that I've given you all the tools in which you feel confident enough to move forward. So it's in that situation where we're all sitting together, and when my kids hit my boundary or go past it, they feel they have the tools enough to push past a boundary that they feel that they can handle. Whereas if they're always going against my boundary, they're not feeling confident enough to move forward, to be that leader. So I have to push their boundaries in order for them to get forward, so that they're kind of like always finding the solutions to move forward. So that's just my viewpoint on leadership, is that that was my misconception. Well, I don't know if it's a misconception, but for me, it was always the lead is always behind and always following whatever the children or the, in work or whatever it is, you're always one step behind. But it's actually the leaders on a mission, and the people that are attracted to you is where you're doing your learning and circling, and then you move on again.
Absolutely. Because there's that, we call it the theory of modeling in psychology, where they are modeling what you are. And when I talk of influence, they are following what they like about you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can follow even what they don't like about you, because they probably haven't got the rationale, the reasoning that to not follow that. That's why we need to be very aware of ourselves, so
Yes.
that we are actually not allowing our young people to follow us, and we are leading them to the doldrums, right?
Yeah.
So it's I like your side of analogy, but I also like to say that when you're leading your young person, we must never forget that they are their own person. They actually might not even require that leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so we need to be worthy of of being leaders. We're just not leaders by position. We must be mentors, we must be motivators, so we
Exactly.
must be life givers. And when I say life givers, it's not just about it's not, again, not just about giving birth, giving life. It's what words am I using? What aspirations have I got? Where am I going? Is it worthy of being followed? Actually, we're coming to the top of the hour, but I want to say this very quickly. 2 weeks ago, I had a forum with young people, and I was just asking them, what would you like us parents to know? What there were teenagers and young people. What is it? Because we want to do a better job, because we think we are failing you, because when you see all these mental health problems, when you see all these, there's so much commotion in the young people's life. So what is it you would like us to do? What would you like to advise us? Because it's something I encourage parents to do. Ask your child, where am I not guiding you in the correct way? What do you think I can do better? And obviously that takes being vulnerable. So the young people said, one of the things they said, and it was all of them, they said, we want to see our parents achieving their own goals, not just telling us that we need. And I was like, oopsie daisy, right? And that's just one. I think there were so many points. In fact, altogether, there were 5 main points that the young people came up with, obviously including, we are not your property. When they said, and remember, these were young people from all over the place. They had not sat down and talked about it. They were just telling me, pouring it out, because I said to them, give it to me. Just say it as, what do you want us parents to know? And there was, you need to be achieving your own goals. We are not your property. And you could feel almost an anger in them, them telling us it was really interesting. But you know what I think we're going to do, Saskia, because we're running out of time and we're coming to the top of the hour, is that we're going to have you as another time, because you've got some very interesting points. And I know thank you, that's all right. Most of most of our listeners, our parents, they like to identify with people just like them. And that's why I keep talking about my personal experiences as well, because as much as I'm a professional, this being able to bring in real life, don't give me figures, don't tell me books, tell me that the kid has decided not to speak to you, we are people at the end of the day, and we identify with people. And that's why I love what you're saying, because most parents can see ourselves in you, right? So I would just like you to tell us, as a good friend, as a contributor, how can we find you, and what can you offer? What nice things can you offer to the listeners? Because I'm sure we always like to offer nice things and just offer different things here. So, two things: what you can offer to all the parents here, and another thing is just two things, and I think you mentioned them anyway, two snippets that you can leave our listeners with, two things that they can practice this week to stop losing their mind. Just two.
I think if we can sum up from the snippets, what we were talking about is whenever there's a situation, whatever it is, whether the children's barging in while you're on the toilet, or you're trying to have some downtime for yourself, or the siblings are fighting, or if you're divorced and, the kids are fighting and you fighting, or whatever's happening there, do you want to be the fire or do you want to be the water?
Uh-huh.
The only way you lose your mind is when you decide to be the fire. And understand, when I want to be the fire, what's the pinnacle of it and what's the below it.
Yeah.
So what's actually triggering all of this? So just take your time and breathe, and rather say nothing now and say, I'd like not to comment at the moment, but I will get back to you.
Okay.
And take your time on what it is that you're going to be talking about. That one of the snippets. The second snippet is to be kind to yourself. We only doing the best that we can with what we have, with where we are. There's no one perfect. We're all losing. You learning the tools that we need right now in the right time. No one's further ahead of us. No one's better than us. We're all equal. We breathe the same air. Even our children breathe the same air.
That's right.
The most important thing is just to sit there and go, okay, I need to listen, and not convince somebody or justify why my point is the right point, and to just take it with ease and just go, well, this is how I see it. This is how you see it. Where can we find a middle ground? How can we deal with this? Because like you said right in the beginning, is that the teenagers are wanting to become adults. They don't know who to mirror yet with regards to being an adult. So they're still they're caught between being a child and moving into being an adult, a young adult. So give them the space. And whilst they're learning, you learning too. Brilliant. And a little gift, I don't know. So for parents, my business is a marketing brand agency. I'm a speaker, university lecturer, also around psychology, working with businesses and brands and young kids who don't know, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know who I want to be. So I mentor students as well. Where am I going with my life? I don't understand. People are telling me I have to be this, but I don't even know what I want to be. So I can offer maybe one parent or one child to just sit down with them and go, well, let's map this out. Let's have some fun with this, and just meet with them for maybe half an hour or 60 minutes.
Oh, that would be lovely. So where can we grab a hold of you then?
So you can go to saskiaregina.com or brandsashka.com, one of them.
So saskiaregina.com or brandsashka.com. So yes. And then I guys, I do encourage you to follow up on this. You never know. I keep saying grab everything, like you don't know what you're going to learn when we bring these guests. And you guys keep asking me to bring guests from all over the world. Make use of them, listen to them, know what they've got, listen to their snippets, and it's in listening, it's in learning that we can also unlearn some of the habits that are holding us behind. So I am so grateful for your time today. I'm so appreciative of your time. And I know we're going to be having you back, because I think we've only just scraped the surface. We've got, I'm feeling you've got loads to give our our audience, our listeners. And I know and you've been such a fun guest today, and I'm so appreciative. And thank you so much, everyone. And follow Sashka at sashkaregina.com and just grab and listen and hear what she's got for us. And I'm going to put that link down here as well, so you can just click and go, and that will be lovely. And until our next episode, I am so appreciative. Let's keep learning, let's keep growing, let's keep changing, because it's for us to move to the next step. We must be willing to grow. We must be willing to grow, to expand. We must be willing, and that's all I ask of all of us, including myself. And I like for you to, if you feel that I'm not growing, if you feel I'm stagnating somewhere, call me out, because again, I keep saying, you, I'm your friend. We are the village that is bringing up our kids, and we want our kids to be great. And obviously, until next time, we love you so much, and we wish you all the best, and see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.